Welcome back to Mom and Pop Video Shop. I am Joel, and I'm joined, as always, by the wonderful Tyson. And we are, well, one of us is reviewing Thanksgiving, directed by Eli Roth. And quick caveat before we get into this review, and this will not take long. Unfortunately, as I said in my reaction video earlier, Tyson was not able to join me. So you're guaranteed for this to be a spoiler-free review, because if I spoil it and he's here, he's going to kick my
That's
arse.
right. See, I jinxed it because I mentioned it. I think it was in our
it was
250 subscriber appreciation video.
You're like, yeah, we get to go. You even said, don't poo-poo what a big deal it is for you to get to go. Yeah. All right, so let's just jump into this bad boy. We are talking about Thanksgiving 2023. Directed by Eli Roth and written by Jeff Rendell and Eli Roth as well. It stars Patrick Dempsey. It stars Rick Hoffman. And if any of you out there ever watched the show Suits, he played Lewis, who is my favorite character on that show. I love Rick Hoffman. Gina Gershon is in this. Milo Manheim, Addison Rae, who I believe all the kids know, from what I understand. And Nell, is it Verlicue? I think it's Verlicue. She's actually one of the main characters in this movie. And quite a few other actors. And one person in particular that jumped out at me, I'm a huge stand-up comic fan, and comedian Tim Dillon is in this movie, which I thought was cool. I know he's had done some acting things, but it was just cool to see him in this movie, especially with the character he plays and everything. So the basic synopsis of Thanksgiving is: after a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts, the birthplace of the infamous holiday. I love they say infamous holiday. So, right. Yeah, so for me, Thanksgiving, I could say unequivocally, is a fantastic, awesome slasher film.
Oh, man.
I loved it, dude. So right off the bat, the performances are great. The cinematography is great. The editing is on point. The pacing of the movie, it felt right. And it was the pacing of like an early 80s slasher, like My Bloody Valentine or something like that. Like it felt very much in line with that era, but it never feels like he's pandering to people who want just a retread of that era. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's a today movie. Go ahead.
I was going to say, when we did the trailer reaction to this, to me it screamed My Bloody Valentine. And to your point, there was something about that era of horror film, especially slashers, that pacing wise, where, man, that 90 minutes, it was just full tilt, pedal to the metal.
Indeed. And you said screamed, which is appropriate, because the one thing this movie didn't remind me of, and Scream is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. It didn't remind me of Scream, and I'm all about it. It was not meta, but it has callbacks and references and Easter eggs that if you're paying attention and know enough about certain horror films, like I was reminded of certain elements of like Happy Birthday to Me, and there were some other ones that really jumped out at me. It's a lot of fun. It's mean and nasty when it's got to get mean and nasty. The practical gore effects are brutal at times. I'm sure. But it never goes full, like, obviously with Eli Roth doing Hostel and stuff like that. I feel like it's more akin to Cabin Fever in that regard, in that it's gory and it's messed up. But this isn't that. This is played straight. Like, there's humor, but it never feels like he's forcing it in. But I don't want to give anything away, like I said, for you and for the audience. But I will say this. If you are a horror fan, if you are a slasher fan, if you are an Eli Roth fan, if any of that combination is you must see this in the theater. One, because we need to support movies like this in the theater, I believe. But two, it is just so refreshing to get a movie. Honestly, it feels like it's from an earlier era, but not in this self-conscious way. Like, it wasn't self-consciously postmodern and all that. It's none of that. In fact, it feels postmodern. Like, they're like, yeah, okay, we get it, meta. People are, the characters should know this stuff, but you know what? They don't. But at the same time, the characters, especially the main ones, aren't stupid. And certain characters that you presume things will happen to don't. And I will say this, if the movie has a weak spot, and it's going to guarantee you what mainstream critics are going to rip it for, it's going to be that, the characters are pretty, by and large, kind of certain like one-dimensional archetypes of the genre. But honestly, as a fan, it's the kind of thing you want. Like, you don't want this to go in some new direction that we've never seen before. No, I wanted a fun, over-the-top, crazy slasher film with Thanksgiving as the theme, and that's exactly what I got. And I will tell you this, you also get a social commentary, but I've learned something. I love a great horror film with social commentary, but there's a difference between commentary and a message or preaching. So this isn't
beats you over the head.
Right? Yes, I will say this. I predict we have a new slasher potential icon on our hands. The John Carver is the name of that slasher. That's not the character. John Carver, I guess, was the mayor of Plymouth, like the Plymouth colony when they landed, was John Carver. So that's the mask you see in all the trailers and everything. And it's great because it's got just enough detail to look like a Puritan, but it's creepy and nondescript and blank enough to have a Michael Myers-y vibe, if that makes sense.
Right.
So yeah, here's the rating. Video shop ratings for me at this moment, it's a 5 taper, dude. I liked it that much. This is going to be easily in my top 10 for the year, and maybe significantly higher in that ranking. I am so happy. Go ahead.
To your point, though, you and I have been complete polar opposites on a few things in the past.
I will be shocked.
But we'll see.
I will be shocked if you don't at least enjoy the hell out of this movie.
All right. I'm in.
Legitimately, if you don't enjoy this movie, I will be flabbergasted. I always feel like then you're just trying to be a contrarian. Just like, screw that Joel guy. I'm not going to like it.
It's lame.
It's dumb. It's lame. So anybody out there, if you have seen it already, again, don't spoil it in the comments because it's opening weekend as we launch this. But let us know in the comments if you are excited about this particular horror film. If you're somebody who has already seen it, and ultimately, what did you think? What did you rate it? Also, this Sunday, it's the week before Thanksgiving. I'll be recording with Jay the Dead on Jay the Dead's New Horror Movies. We're doing a review, a more in-depth review. I'm sure I'll have a spoiler section. So if you've seen the movie by the time that episode comes out, most of you will have seen it by then. I would also assume. So be sure to listen to that as well. Jay the Dead's New Horror Movies on Apple, Spotify, and I guess wherever you can get your podcasts. So on that note, remember at Mom and Pops, our love of
Poultrygeist
never stops.